We begin on the continent of Norzelia, 30 years after the Salt Iron War, an all-out battle between the three countries of the continent, the Kingdom of Glenbrook, the Grand Duchy of Esfrost, and the Holy State of Hyzant, that arose from fighting over the scarce resources of salt and iron. To end the war, a truce was negotiated, resulting in the formation of the Norzelia Consortium, a neutral organization charged with overseeing the fair trade of salt and iron throughout all of Norzelia. Glenbrook, Esfrost, and Hyzant break ground on a site for the Grand Norzelian Mines, an iron mine built in an effort to improve relations between the three countries. Glenbrook and Esfrost further propose a marriage between Serenoa Wolfort, heir to House Wolfort, one of Glenbrook's three high houses, and Frederica Esfrost, sister of Archduke Gustadolf Esfrost, to ensure that cooperation between their two nations is solidified by forming a consolidation of power against Hyzant's salt monopoly in the event that the consortium should fail. During a routine investigation of the mines, which are located within the Wolfort domain, by Serenoa's group, they witness an Esfrosti soldier kill Dragon, the mine's overseer and Gustadolf's cousin. Gustadolf then accuses Glenbrook of murdering Dragon, using his death as a pretext to stage a campaign against Glenbrook and invade its capital, storming Whiteholm Castle. Serenoa and his party are too late to stop Gustadolf's forces from killing King Regna and Prince Franny, along with capturing Princess Cordelia, leaving Roland Glenbrook, Serenoa's childhood friend and second prince of Glenbrook, as the sole heir to Glenbrook's throne. Determined to bring all of Glenbrook to heel, Gustadolf gives Serenoa an ultimatum: hand Roland over to him or face annihilation at the hands of the Esfrost army. Faced with this choice, Serenoa and his companions consult the Scales of Conviction, a holy relic gifted to the Wolforts by the Glenbrooks, and the decision is made to protect Roland instead of handing him over to Gustadolf. After successfully defending Castle Wolfort against Gustadolf's army, Benedict Pascal, the steward of House Wolfort, realizes that the only way to stop Esfrost from repeatedly hounding the Wolforts is to somehow get rid of Roland, and proceeds to fake Roland's death. With constant conflicts of battle exhausting House Wolfort's forces, Serenoa and Benedict make a plea to Hyzant for aid in a move of desperation. Sorcely End, a member of the Saintly Seven, the group who rules over Hyzant by claiming to enforce the will of the goddess of salt, responds with a generous offering of supplies and funding, with the condition that the Wolforts must assist Sorcely, who manages Hyzant's, and by extension Norzelia's, salt, with his illegal salt trafficking. Again faced with a major decision, this time of whether or not to aid Sorcely, Serenoa's group consults the Scales, and the decision is made not to do Sorcely's bidding, instead visiting Hyzant's capital and exposing Sorcely's wrongdoing to the other members of the Seven. Following Serenoa's group's discovering and providing Sorcely's secret accounting ledger to the Seven as proof of his crime, he's judged guilty and executed. Afterward, the Seven offer Sorcely's vacant seat on their council to Serenoa, along with the protection it provides to his land and its inhabitants, if he agrees to surrender to them a village of Roselle, a race of people forced into slave labor by Hyzant, who escaped from the source, Norzelia's one and only source of salt, and are living in the Wolfort domain under House Wolfort's protection. Facing this decision, Serenoa's group chooses not to relinquish the Roselle, and Silvio Tellior, the Lord of House Tellior, the third of Glenbrook's high houses, working as an overseer for Hyzant, attacks the Rosellan village, forcing Serenoa's group to defeat him. As Hyzantian reinforcements approach, Serenoa's group discovers a salt crystal hidden away in the village, proving that Hyzant's source is not the sole location where salt exists naturally, and thus that their goddess and religion, upon which the entire city is built and functions, is false. Serenoa's group uses this salt crystal as leverage to negotiate with the Seven, securing protection for the Rosellan village, along with Serenoa's appointment to a position on the Seven. Roland reveals himself to the Seven, imploring them to side with House Wolfort to help him drive Esfrost from Glenbrook. Using his Seven position, Serenoa convinces two of the other members, Ministers Edor and Exam, to see reason in helping Roland free Glenbrook. With the negotiations successful, Exam promises Serenoa the full force of the Hyzantian army, as well as a single piece of Hyzant's newest weapon, an explosive crystal known as Elfric. Not fully trusting House Wolfort, Edor also sends one of his agents, a dancer named Milo, as a spy, under the guise of an ally. Serenoa's group decides to use Frederica's plan to destroy Whiteholm Bridge using the Elfric, thereby isolating Whiteholm Castle from the capital's citizens, protecting them from the dangers of battle. The plan succeeds, and they reclaim Glenbrook's capital with the help of Hyzant, but in the process are forced to kill Erica and Thalas, siblings of Gustadolf and Frederica. Cordelia is also gravely wounded during the fighting, and while she recovers in the infirmary, Roland is installed as King of Glenbrook. With Roland as king, Serenoa, Roland, Frederica, and Benedict go about trying to rebuild the kingdom. Roland stays back in the capital city to investigate the Royalists, the elite party of aristocrats that manage the day-to-day dealings in Glenbrook. Frederica heads to the Rosellan village to investigate bandit reports. Benedict travels to Castle Wolfort, as Serenoa's father and former head of House Wolfort, Simone, has just recovered from an illness. Serenoa must decide which ally to accompany, and chooses to travel with Frederica to the Rosellan village. After arriving there and dealing with the bandits, Frederica discovers an old diary, written by her now-deceased mother, Orlea, stating that Hyzant is using their religion and enslavement of the Roselle at the source to hide the truth of the Rosellans' knowledge of salt crystals outside of the source, and their people's origin to the south, in their homeland of Centralia, where there exists an entire ocean with unlimited salt. Returning to Whiteholm Castle, Serenoa and Frederica are reunited with the rest of the group, who share what they experienced with them. Roland was met with the cruel reality of being king, as he was forced to punish the royalists for misappropriating reconstruction funds, deciding to execute them, and realize the extent of the corruption present within the Glenbrook court. At Castle Wolfort, Simone was hosting a feast to celebrate the liberation of Glenbrook, and in the midst of it was assassinated by the head of the royalists, Patriat. Benedict reveals to Serenoa that he's actually King Regna's illegitimate son, and therefore Roland's elder half-brother, who was secretly adopted by the Wolfort family to cover up the scandal. Serenoa's group then hears word that Esfrosti forces are gathering at the Grand Norzellian mines and rush to investigate it. After defeating the remaining Esfrosti forces, who are attempting to collapse the mines with explosives, they discover salt crystals deep within, revealing the reason behind Esfrost's assassination of Drogon and subsequent invasion of Glenbrook, to allow them to secure the mine's salt for themselves. Milo learns of this discovery as well, communicating it to the Seven, and both Esfrost and Hyzant send their armies to invade Glenbrook with the goal of seizing the mines. Faced with the most major decision yet, that of what to do next, Serenoa's comrades suggest different plans of action to him. Roland advocates surrendering Glenbrook, including the Grand Norzellian mines, to Hyzant, combining forces under Hyzant's rule to conquer Esfrost, avenging his family and uniting Norzellia and Hyzant's system of religious equality at the expense of the enslaved Rosellans. Benedict recommends surrendering the mines to Esfrost instead, deposing Roland, installing Serenoa as the new king of Glenbrook, and establishing an alliance with Esfrost to conquer Hyzant, forcibly breaking its salt monopoly. Frederica implores Serenoa to abandon the mines and war entirely, instead focusing on liberating the enslaved Rosellans in the source by sneaking into Hyzant, freeing them, and leading them to Centralia, where they can live in peace near the ocean. Serenoa also contemplates his own plan, factoring in all the influential people, information gathered, and events that have occurred, which would accomplish his and all of his companions' goals, along with leading to a favorable outcome for all of Norzellia's inhabitants. Ultimately, Serenoa chooses Benedict's plan, and Benedict reveals Serenoa's heritage to Roland, along with his legitimate claim to the throne. In response, Roland challenges Serenoa to a duel, and upon Roland losing, he abandons the group, claiming that he could never ally with Esfrost, as they murdered his family, and he abdicates the throne. Serenoa and Frederica occupy it as king and queen of Glenbrook, afterward proceeding to establish an alliance with Esfrost. Combining the forces of both Glenbrook and Esfrost, Serenoa's group conquers Hyzant, exposes their religion as false, and forces Eador, revealed to secretly be the true ruler of Hyzant, to flee into hiding. With Hyzant's salt monopoly broken and more sources of salt being discovered in the form of crystals, Serenoa leads Norzellia into an age of peace and prosperity. Under Benedict's guidance, Serenoa adopts an approach similar to Gustadof's entrepreneurial equality, where everyone must succeed or fail on their own merit, and thus, although the Roselle are freed, they are left to fend for themselves, suffering in their peasant circumstances. Additionally, an uncontrolled salt trade leads to a massive, ever-growing wealth disparity between the rich and the poor. Roland, still in hiding, joins with Eador to form a resistance movement, promising to help the impoverished masses he feels that Serenoa has ignored, which have the potential to lead to a massive civil war in the near future.